When you first started drawing, who were the people that you looked at and learnt from?
Oh, I have to give you the mainstream answer, or I can give you the...
You give us the answer that's the right answer.
Well, Ashley Wood,
Yep.
obviously. The people who probably know my work probably like, a lot of them like Ashley Wood as well.
Yep.
If they don't know him, he used to work in comics. He doesn't do much now. He does toys, really good toys.
Yeah, right.
3A, they're cool, they're good. He has a website. Buy them, they're very expensive. They're good though. But I drew inspiration from artists like Ralph Steadman, who used to work with Hunter, which is why I drew a picture of Hunter, which is what you brought up before. But a guy named Victor Ambrose, who's a book illustrator who people have never heard of, but I guarantee you've seen his work, because if everyone that went to high school who's younger than me, and probably older than me, he's done like 200 illustrated books, so you've seen some as you grew up as kids probably, like funny ones and also more mature ones with like illustrated myths and stuff. Like, he's just really good art. And I only rediscovered him because he's the artist on Time Team, that British TV show. Yeah. I was like, oh shit, I recognise his art from somewhere. So I went back and like, nope, that was that guy that I grew up reading his books, and I realised that I took his style and raped it. Not really, but slightly. It was a little rapey, but the way he uses colour and stuff, and he's like, anyway, arty stuff. Like, yeah, he's an inspiration too. And Ralph Steadman, and like I said, and Ash. But the actual storytelling of comics, probably, I don't know who Paul Pope and Mike Mignola and people like that. I draw inspiration for telling the stories, because comics, people forget. People who want to get into comics, I think it's all about drawing pretty pictures. Obviously it's not, because I have a career, but it's about telling a story via pictures as well, which is a completely different discipline and a technical sort of thing. I think part of it's instinctual, but part of it you have to learn how best to tell a story. Because there's a lot of artists that are pretty good, but they're shit at telling a story, and they need to be told. And then there's some artists that can tell a story, but their art's pretty shit. But the artists that can tell a story, even if their art's pretty shit, still get the work. Yeah. Because they can put the comic out, whereas you have no clue. Oh, that's a pretty picture, but it didn't go anywhere. And they tried that in the 90s. Yeah. And look how that ended up.
You know, you've worked from scripts, and you write and do your own artwork. Is there a preference?
I like that you call it writing. Thank you. Preference would be to work on more my own stuff. Yeah. But I generally only work with people I'm friends with already now. I mean, that's part of the attraction of working with other people half the time now, is working with people you're friends with, or you become their friends anyway. Or they're already a reputable writer, and you're working on something really interesting with them, like Warren Ellis. But I was always a Warren Ellis fan, so I don't need to work with anyone else now, because I worked with Warren. Yeah, right. Because he was my fanboy.
What was his? Can you tell us a little bit about the scripts that you would receive from him for Fell?
Yes, they were in English. They were written on computer, because he emailed them to me.
Yeah. What font?
Arial.
Yeah, right.
No, I tell a lie. Korea. Right. His career.
Because if you said Comic Sans, I just would have stepped up and walked out of here.
Comic Sans.
Little Fonty joke for all the nerds here, so we're onto it. So, but were they? Did they give you room to manoeuvre? Or
yeah, he's probably the best writer I've ever worked with. Yeah. In the sense that, because if anyone knows Fell, it's generally speaking, a 9-panel grid format, which is very restrictive and kind of boring for the visually inclined, but it's good to tell a story. So he had this panel grid thing, and so he laid out the panels the way he wanted, and he's very visual in that, and he knows what he wanted to do with the pacing to tell a story, but he gave me complete freedom pretty much within the panels to tell the story how I wanted, which really sucked, and he was a bastard in many ways, because he gave me a 5-page, 9-panel grid format interrogation scene in a police station where there's nothing but a mirror, a table, and 2 guys talking for 5 pages with 9-panel grid. Right. And I had to make that interesting for that long. It was good. It was a good education.
Can you break down for everyone how you would set that out? Like when you see something like that, first, what comes to mind initially, and then how do you
I just draw work? Panel from panel, and I don't even do layouts for it.
Yeah, right.
Oh no, I tell a lie. I do like very rough panel sketch layouts, thumbnails, barely, just to get an idea about what I'm drawing in each panel, and then I go for it. Yeah. And try to make it interesting. I'm not really the planner. Right. I rarely do sketches outside of the actual real work either.
Yeah, right. So Matt Fraction, was he fun to work with?
Well, we didn't. When you say.
Did you have any contact with him, or was it
just a brief amount of contact? I mean, it's mostly just an email. Oh, here's a script, and work on it. He broke me so that I could do Fell, because the work with him was an 8-panel grid, which I nearly gave up on after a while because it drove me insane. But because of doing that, and this was before he was big. doing the 9-panel grid with Warren was like, oh yeah, I can do that, because 8 panels, and it broke me, and I started, learnt. It was like having a stroke and then having to learn how to draw again. So he did that to me, so I could do fell. So it was good. It was fun. I have a lot to thank him for that.
Have you worked with any writers, and feel free to name names if you want, but have there been things where you've been given such a description for a panel and you've looked and just gone, that's just not going to happen?
You've read, okay, you know too much. Well, I won't say names, but I worked with someone once. He hadn't written comics before, he'd written other stuff.
Right.
Will remain nameless.
Yes.
They may or may not have come from a more Hollywood background originally.
Yes. What does his name rhyme with?
Nothing. I'm not saying anything. No, and it's not a bad story because it ended up well. It ended well. But he also wrote some novels. So his panel descriptions were basically what's going on in the character's head for a paragraph, just for one panel. And I'm like, that's good. I don't need to know that. I can't draw his thoughts in. Yeah. You can maybe write them in, but no one uses thought bubbles much anymore anyway.
Yeah.
So it was useless information for drawing the actual panels. Like, I need to know if there's a fucking tree in the panel and a bloke and he's talking to a dog, whatever. That's what I need to know to draw the panel. And having a good idea of what he's saying gives you good expression to put in the thing as well. So I had to get over that hurdle first and explain to him, you don't need to tell me that. That's a waste of your time and my time.
Yeah.
Because, it's not the novel, it's a comic. It's about the picture. That's my job. Just tell me what it has to. I drew the first 8 pages of this comic 3 times.
Yeah, right.
Because while I drew the script and he liked them, he thought he got more ideas and stuff as he went, and he thought it was more like you could do a retake in a TV or a movie or something. Oh yeah, I like that take. We'll do that again. It's like, actually, I've given you the original artwork now, but I did the first 8 pages 3 times before it got insane. It's like, I can't do this for the entire comic. We just have to set your script, and then I'll draw it.
Yeah.
And then we'll fix up any minor things, but I can't do the whole thing again.
Yeah.
So that was an education for both of us. Yeah. That was a few years ago now. But it was good education. And it's a good, funny, weird story to tell. But maybe only comic people get that. Comic artist people go, oh, yes.
I don't know. I think that stuff's all interesting, like...
In other words, I used to actually be productive and put work in.
Yeah, and now?
Now I'm getting back to that.
You've worked on licensed products. Is there a different type of pressure with that? Like, because you were saying, this writer was trying to come back to you and saying, can you do this, can you do this, can you do this?
Yeah, but that was on a thing we created ourselves. But,
yeah, well, that's what I'm saying, with licensed stuff. Is there a different kind of pressure of
because
if you get something wrong?
It's a license thing. For people that don't know anything like Buffy or Star Wars or everything that you've ever heard of that is not created by the actual people that are putting a comic out is usually a license book.
Yeah.
If it's coming from a movie or whatever. Which means the comic company is paid money to be able to turn something into a comic or to do stories based on the characters or whatever that are known. And they're known because they're popular somewhere else.
Yeah.
Which means you can't go crazy with these things and like turn the main guy black or a woman if he was already a white guy. And you can't just kill them off. There's a Bible or a guide to how you have to treat characters and various things. And it has to be consistent, like Doctor Who. Doctor Who was a big pain in the ass.
Yeah.
Because BBC are gatekeepers of that, and you can't mess with the history of Doctor Who or the canon, because it's got to be legitimate and it's got to be things. So,
and you're taking into account they're taking into account the TV series, the audio books.
Yeah, they've probably got a whole department that just studies the history of Doctor Who and keeps it all consistent. So stuff like that. Either the company that have got the license have to be mindful of that, and they tell you a lot what to do, or how to draw things sometimes, or the company themselves, like Marvel and DC. You can't mess with Batman. You've got to keep it consistent to a degree. I mean, they'll let you have a play, but you're talking about characters or properties that earn billions of dollars.
Yeah.
So you can't with them.
Are there any characters that you would like to tackle?
Yeah, Batman.
Yep.
Oh, maybe the Punisher, maybe Ghost Rider, something like that. If I was to work on other people's stuff like that, I'd love to adapt Dune into a comic. That'd be cool. I don't know. Oh, and maybe something else I'm not going to talk about, but yeah.
Something that's possibly coming up?
No, nothing. It's not coming out.
You'd just rather not say.
I'd love to do Mad Max comics.
Yeah.
Because I don't think there's ever been any Mad Max comics.
Who'd like to see a Mad Max comic?
Yes.
Yes.
By various people.
I felt like there was a collective. Yes.